Good morning. Welcome to Shawnee Mission Unitarian Universalist Church. I am Dick Weaver, a member of this church. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. We are happy that you have chosen to join with us online this Sabbath, this sanctuary in time. That you chose to tune in here is something we celebrate. We extend an especially warm welcome to our visitors. Now, Reverend Rose has a few announcements.
Good morning. I have several important announcements this morning. The first is that we are going to be keeping church closed longer than we thought. We are now looking out into mid-February for a possible reopening. We know that this is not the most fun thing, and that for many of us, this wave of COVID is still hitting us. For our teachers, our nurses, for our parents, and our littlest kiddos, for our church, this means yet another pause. But the second announcement I have is a very exciting announcement. Did you know that SMUUCh offers a faith-based sexual education program called OWL? OWL stands for Our Whole Lives, and for those of us who have been through the program or are or have been an instructor, we know that OWL saves lives. Our Whole Lives was developed in 1999 in a joint project between the UCC and UUA denominations and has a sexual education class for age groups ranging from kindergarten to infinity. There's even an adults class and an older adults class for all you sexually active or sex-curious seniors. This program celebrates healthy sexuality as an important part of human wellness, community wellness, and spirituality. It is an inclusive, matter-of-fact approach, a science and reality-based curriculum, and there are conversations within it about the fullness of human sexuality, dialogue amongst the group, and trained instructors. OWL is only offered through Unitarian Universalist congregations and must be done in a UU or UCC church. This is a rare opportunity, especially for you parents of teens, to get your kids the community, the mentorship, the honesty, education, and support they need as they grow into young adulthood. I myself and my sibling went through OWL in 9th grade. I myself am a trained instructor, and on top of being exposed to a lot of information and education, these experiences have left me with an ability to have open, frank conversations about sex, say, from the pulpit. And I do it because I believe that OWL saves lives. We are so proud to offer this program that we have a whole group of instructors trained. We are currently in the polling stage to see what levels and ages are needed right now. This is your chance to let us know that you or your children are interested. It closes on January 31st. You can reach out to our Director of Religious Education through the website or find the poll on the church Facebook page. Our call to worship this morning comes from author, thinker, activist, and monk Thich Nhat Hanh, who died this week at the age of 95. Every minute can be a holy, sacred minute. Where do you seek the spiritual? You seek the spiritual in every ordinary thing that you do every day. Sweeping the floor, watering the vegetables, and washing the dishes become holy and sacred if mindfulness is there. With mindfulness and breathing, everything becomes spiritual. Come, let us worship. Please enjoy from the comfort of your own spaces our opening hymn, number 1.
As Kaylin comes forward to light our chalice, we invite you to join in reading our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with one another. Each month, we as a community take time to reflect on a theme. The children do this in their classes, and we do it here in worship and in our small groups. This month, the theme is living with intention. Petey was the name of a mule to which I was assigned when Joyce, my wife, and I went horseback riding in the mountains of Utah with her cousin and his family. Before mounting up on the first day, the cousin casually remarked, "Petey likes to be part of the decision. Which path to take, how fast to go, or whether or not he got to lead the caravan. When I think of living with intention, I think of Petey. In one sense, the trail ride for Petey would be shaped by definite boundaries. Boundaries determined by whomever sat in the saddle and held the reins. But in another sense, he was an active participant. It was still his trail ride. In the 10th chapter of John's Gospel, Jesus says of his imminent death on the cross, "No one takes my life from me. I lay it down of my own accord." No one takes my life from me. In one sense, of course, Jesus had his life taken from him. But in another sense, he considered himself an active participant in the way his life turned out. The night before he was assassinated, in his "I've been to the mountaintop" speech, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I may not get there with you, but that does not matter to me now, for I have been to the mountaintop and I have seen the promised land." That does not matter to me now? This sounds like he considered himself as more than just a passive observer of his fate. It is an appealing, even seductive thought to me that what I do, what I decide, would have more control over determining my destiny than those forces outside myself in setting the boundaries that shape my life. Is there a sense that the outcome of my living is not beyond my ability to decide? David Copperfield, at the beginning of the novel, muses to himself, "Would I be the captain of my fate or forever its victim?" This is where living with intention comes in. How do I regard this trail ride I find myself on? Do I assign myself the task of living this life? Do I embrace this life, love this life, choose this life? In short, what is my intention? Am I all in or merely a passive observer? How did that reading from a couple of Sundays go by Mary Oliver? To live in this world, you must be able to do three things. First, to love what is mortal. No, not love the life I imagine I would like, or that which I wish for, the one that meets my needs and leaves me feeling satisfied, the one that may not ever happen, no matter how many New Year's resolutions I make. No, love what is mortal, the life you showed up in. Not tolerate it, endure it, embrace it, actively affirm it. This is my trail ride. Then, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it. It may be a bumpy ride. Am I ready to pour myself into whatever shape my life takes? Hold it against your bones. Nothing has happened or is going to happen to me without my willing participation. Know what it means not to look back and to take no thought for the morrow. And finally, Then when the time comes to let it go, to let it go, the life I have chosen to love ends. On the first day of our trail ride, Petey, who liked to lead and was in the front of the line, came to a small stream. He stopped dead in his tracks and would not move. The horses from behind started going around, passing through the stream up to the other side. Without warning, Petey jumped the stream and up onto the opposite bank in one big leap. My feet came clear up over my head as my shoulders rocked back onto Petey's rump. Luckily and amazingly, I stayed in the saddle. That was Petey. In no way was he the passive observer on a trail ride not of his choosing. Petey liked to be part of the decision.
Please now enjoy our musical interlude. This is the time in our order of service when we draw to heart and mind those in our midst who are suffering and those who feel the sweet relief of their burdens easing. Today we draw to heart and mind everyone whose lives have been forever changed by COVID. The first COVID cases were detected in the U.S. on January 20th, 2020, which means that as of today, we are in the third year of the pandemic. Today, we think of our stressed education and healthcare workers and systems. We know that the education experience of an entire generation will be marked by this pandemic that our teachers are exhausted. We hope that this generation of kids and teens are able to make sense of these years and persevere in their education. Of course, we draw to mind the nurses, the doctors, the medical students, chaplains, hospital administrators, all medical and cleaning staff and public health scientists who are facing a profound and scary exhaustion. We give our love to those untangling themselves from relationships that no longer serve them. We grieve for the loss of energy and time that chronic illness takes on the body and mind, and our hearts go out to all who are struggling to make ends meet, especially in the cold. We extend our gratitude to people who make caring for children their primary spiritual practice, and we join in wonder with all who are bravely facing their final days. And as always, we rejoice over the exquisite beauty in this world, as small or life-changing as each piece of beauty might be. And now I invite you to write in the chat a 2 to 3 sentence rare joy or a profound sorrow, and read them while I light the candles. I now invite you to join me for a moment of silence, followed by spoken word. In your own homes, I invite you to put your feet flat on the floor, close your eyes. You can put your palms up, facing up like this. And as an embodiment exercise today, as you breathe in, opening your palms as you breathe out, putting your palms down. So I'll just invite you to take deep breaths for this moment of silence. I invite you to draw your attention to your heart space. You can imagine that deep inside your chest, halfway through the front and back of your body, there's a little gem. Letting the corners of your lips turn up. Thich Nhat Hanh said that sometimes your joy is the source of your smile, but sometimes your smile can be the source of your own joy. We ask to find a peace wherever we are in life. Let us practice surrender to this exact moment and place we find ourselves. Let us be curious breathers, Let us have curious embodiment. Keeping your eyes closed, I invite you into one last exercise, keeping your eyes closed and the corners of your lips turned up in a smile. Locate the parameters of the room in which you are. Maybe it's your car, maybe you're outside, but in your mind's eye, locate the doors, the exits, the windows, the other people, the trees, and just send out your own private blessing to your space. Maybe that space is your own person, maybe it's the room, maybe it's big enough to engulf a whole world. Blessed be, and amen. Please enjoy our meditative hymn, which will be played for us by Cello Band, Spirit of Life.
Our reading today comes from Thich Nhat Hanh. I have noticed that people are dealing too much with the negative. Why not try the other way? To look and see positive things, to just touch those things and make them bloom.
The story that I'm going to tell you today is a story that I've wanted to share with you for a long time, but I've finally chosen this Sunday because it is a story about endurance, and in this moment, I think we need to be reminded of how powerful simple endurance is. This third year of the pandemic is indeed a weary slog, but the ability to weather difficult times well is what will get us to the other side. Simple waiting through tough times when the future is so unknown. Right now, there are unknowns in the fits and starts of our social systems, the crisis in healthcare, the sense of isolation and hopelessness, the looming questions about the climate and the government. I think we need a reminder right now just what we can endure together if we decide to, if we can keep our hearts and minds on what is sacred, life itself, the beloved community, and the wellness of the whole. I think we need a reminder right now of just what we can endure together if we can be patient and maintain hope and care for each other over time. Then we will come out of this to a better place if we can keep ourselves and others in good spirits and find fun along the way, appreciating the gift of life that we have in each moment we breathe. Then we will make it through to a time of greater peace. Our story today is about a crew of seafaring sailors, 28 men who boarded a ship called the Endurance in 1914 under the leadership of their captain, Ernest Shackleton. Now, you may know the story of this incredible trans-Antarctic voyage, but I want to tell it to you again, using the work of writer and historian Kieran Mulvaney, because it inspires me in this particular moment, because the crew on this boat were facing a lot of unknowns, and I hope that their endurance inspires you too. Our story begins when the boat, the Endurance, sailed away from the rocky shores of a little island below South America. The plan was to cross beneath the curving bottom of the earth and come out on the other side south of New Zealand. The boat carried 27 men plus one stowaway who became the ship's steward and 69 sled dogs. Now, of course, Antarctica is one of the fastest warming places on Earth due to climate change, but 100 years ago, the ice was a huge and powerful force on this southernmost continent. And on its voyage, soon enough, the Endurance encountered a barrier of thick sea ice that stood guard around the entire Antarctic continent, and it's called the pack ice. For several weeks, the ship poked and prodded its way through narrow, linear cracks in the ice floes, gingerly making its way towards that pole. But one day, there was a great wind, and the ice pushed together suddenly, and there was no way forward and no way out. The Endurance was, quote-unquote, frozen like an almond in the middle of a chocolate bar, as one crew member wrote. When the ship became stuck, Shackleton, the captain, reportedly did not rage at all or show outwardly the slightest sign of disappointment. One crew member said that he told us simply and calmly that we must winter on the ice, explained its dangers and its possibilities, never lost his optimism, and prepared for winter. In private, however, Shackleton revealed greater worry, quietly expressing on one winter's night that the ship can't live in this. It may be a few months, it may be only a question of weeks or even days, but what the ice gets, the ice keeps. At first, the crew slept in the safety of the ship that was locked in the ice, even as the ice pushed and pinched the hull of their sleeping chamber and the wood howled in protest. Until finally one day, a wave of pressure rippled across the ice, careening the ship's stern into the sky, tearing off its rudder and its keel, water rushing in. They escaped, and the wreck convulsed once more, was crushed, and then they were just alone on the ice flat. There was no alternative, wrote Shackleton, but to camp once more on the ice and to possess our souls with what patience we could until conditions should appear more favorable. Now, I imagine that this was a moment when group morale might not have been high. Mental health probably wasn't great. After all, because the sun reaches the poles of the earth at an angle, that means that they had 6 months of complete darkness, followed by 6 months of complete sunshine and no time clock. Remember, at this point, they had been moored on the ice for a year. Now, I have often wondered, because I've loved this story for many years, how did this group of people survive the unending months of the great expanse in the harshest of conditions? Well, do you know what Shackleton made them do? He did as Thich Nhat Hanh advised us to, and made their source of joy be their own smiles. Yes, he made his crew sing songs, dance, and play games. He made them do skits. He made them talk to each other, and he made them celebrate small daily successes. Can you imagine the despair, the hunger, the illness, the insanity of time passing without the rhythms of daylight, the world assuming you're dead, having eaten your dogs, and you just wanting to get into your blubber-filled sleep sack and never wake up, and then someone comes around and says, no, 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 you're not going to bed without a lengthy, rousing skit, some singing, and yes, you will each be dancing. And you know, in the photos on the ice flat, they don't look that sad. They actually look fairly calm, like with pleasant looks on their faces. But after that year and some months on the ice, the floe drifted into warmer waters, and Shackleton wrote in his diary that the floe has been a good friend to us, but it is reaching the end of its journey and is liable at any time to break up now. One day it did just that, splitting beneath them with a mighty crack. They launched the little lifeboats, and all at once they were finally free of the ice, their friend and their foe. Now they were just in the open ocean that threw the tiny lifeboats from side to side, the hulls filled with men in the fetal position as they battled the elements and seasickness. Like so many moments in our lives, one great difficulty can seem to give way to another, completely different obstacle. But this time, after just 6 days, the Elephant Islands appeared. The men rowed that entire time, did not sleep for 80 hours. One said that at least half the party were insane. When they got to shore, it was the first time they had been on dry land in 497 days. But it didn't take long for Shackleton and 5 others to row right back out into the open, squalling ocean to get help at an outpost that was more than 800 miles away. I wonder if right now our nurse force feels like Shackleton in this moment, like they are in the middle of an ocean, their lives dominated by the swells of dying, unvaccinated persons, their colleagues finally losing their minds, but there not being an option to give up, for it would betray the wellness of the whole. Shackleton said of this leg of the journey that every surge was an enemy to be watched and circumvented. But finally, weeks later, they did strike land, and when they entered the whaling station, they were met with complete shock. For there was no conceivable circumstance under which 3 strangers could possibly appear from nowhere at this whaling station. And yet here they were, their hair and beards stringy and matted, their faces smeared with blubber and creased from nearly 2 years of stress and deprivation. An old Norwegian whaler recalled the scene when the 3 men first stood before the station manager. He recalled that the manager said, "Who the hell are you?" And that the terrible bearded man in the center of the 3 said very quietly, "My name is Shackleton." "As for me," said the whaler, "I turn away and weep." I want to lift up here that Shackleton had made it. He was safe. But even after he got his warm bath and food, a secure life at his fingertips, he turned his attention back towards rescuing the 22 men who remained on Elephant Island. I like to imagine his mantra. I know this rose will open. I know my fears will burn away. I know that I can reach them. Life is sacred. The wellness of the whole is sacred. And he tried. He tried once and the ice beat him. He tried again and the ice beat him. Meanwhile, one man on the island wrote, "There is no good in deceiving ourselves any longer. Some of the party have quite given up hope of the boat coming." Now I want to pause here and give a little bit of space for the many of us who are feeling the collective hopelessness right now. Indeed, we have lived through 733 days of a global pandemic, a very difficult presidency that empowered an uprising of armed anti-democratic white supremacy, and there are looming obstacles ahead of us. Ironically, while they faced the obstacles of too much ice, we faced the obstacle of melting glaciers and ice. And many of us right now are facing unprecedented changes in our lives. Deaths of loved ones due to COVID, mental health, school issues, addiction, finances. Those of us in helping professions being completely burned out, musicians and chefs without work. We may not be deprived of the same basic needs as the crew of the Endurance, but we are like them in that we are collectively living through a difficult time that is full of many unknowns. And I know that many people right now feel that the odds are against them, feeling ourselves giving up hope for the future, resigning ourselves to a lonely and despairing way of life. But if there's one thing that the Shackleton journey tells us is that we should not give up. That if we endure, if we have patience, things will shift and we will come out to a space of greater safety and peace, because Shackleton did go ahead and find a 3rd ship to attempt a rescue, and one day the 22 men on Elephant Island were setting down to a lunch of boiled seal's backbone when they spied the boat just off the coast. And 2 years after setting out for the Antarctic, every one of the people who got on that boat was alive and safe. Yes, every single person in the crew survived. And that's not because it was easy. That's not because it was a given. It's because they kept their spirits alive, because they stayed hopeful, because they looked to the positive, touched that, and let it bloom. It's because they had someone telling them that they had the power to survive, that they had a strength and a buoyancy within themselves so strong that it did actually buoy them across several expanses of open ocean. Many people in this situation would have turned against each other, killed each other, sacrificed each other out of sheer insanity. They didn't, because against all odds, they kept their hearts and minds on what is sacred, life itself, the beloved community, and the wellness of the whole. It's that they were patient and maintained hope, joy, and cared for each other over time. So let me be the voice in your ear saying that you and we have the power to survive, that you have the strength and buoyancy within yourself strong enough to indeed buoy you across whatever obstacles are before you. I'm telling you not to give up on that thing that you are heading towards. Do not give up on it. It may take longer than you wanted, but no matter what it is you're up against, don't give up the hope. Endure, resolve, persevere, continue forging ahead, keeping your spirits up, even if that is just dancing when you don't feel like dancing, because there is a place to make it too. Those who live through terrible years of unremitting depression speak of such gratitude for their survival once it has passed, and it will pass. This too, your struggles, your obstacles, they will pass. Stay strong as good things are on the horizon that we could not anticipate. Stay strong as the human spirit does endure. Stay strong, the sun is coming back. The events of the future may be unknown, but what is known is that now, in this moment, we can be joyful, we can be appreciative, we can make love occur, we can bring hope to ourselves and others. We can know that our roses will open, that if our souls possess that patience, more favorable conditions will appear, as Shackleton might have put it. So just as they appreciated their friend they had in the ice, may we appreciate the friend we have in the air, the friend we have in the plants, the friends we have in our literal friends. Let us treat the people nearest to us with the utmost respect and reverence, especially in trying times. And let our own smile be the joy. To celebrate the small daily successes, to really celebrate them, living with that intention. For when those 28 men returned home, I've often wondered what it was like for them. If they took those uplifted, spirited traditions with them, if their waiting, ordinary lives took on a different meaning. Perhaps every casual corner bloomed into a shrine. Perhaps every minute with their families, every minute on land with plants became a holy, sacred minute. Maybe they could even feel their soul unfurling its wings when they did something as quotidian and regular as sweeping the floor, watering the vegetables, maybe even doing the dishes, maybe even just living with intention became a holy act. Blessed be, and amen.
The work of the church depends on us. Our generosity of time, wisdom, and financial resources. We invite you to give generously to support the ongoing work of the church, please give online. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us in our hearts until we are together again. Please enjoy our closing hymn, number 396, I Know This Rose Will Open.
Shackleton was an incredible person who showed great endurance, but just a few years after he rescued his crew, he died. I urge you this week to reach out to the caring professionals in your life, the nurses and doctors and teachers who are doing a heavy lift for all of us but are at risk of losing their long-term mental and physical health due to the stress of the pandemic. Tell them you love them, send them a gift card, and in your own life, don't give up, because I know your roses will open. Go in peace.